A lot of the haters out there will tell you that authors who use AI aren't really authors. And in this case, I actually agree. We're something bigger, and I'll tell you what that is today. Hello everyone, welcome back to The Nerdy Novelist, and be sure to stick around to the end of this video because I have a big announcement that I think you're going to want to hear. But first, let's talk about why authors who use AI aren't really authors, or at least that's not how I see us. Now don't get me wrong, if you identify strongly as an author and you want to use AI in some method to enhance that process, then by all means go ahead and identify as an author. There is nothing holding you back from being an author. AI has nothing to do with whether you are an author or not. However, if you're like me or a lot of the other authors out there who are using AI heavily in their process in order to dramatically improve their results and the amount of work that we are able to put out, we like to think big. Okay, and I'm thinking big here. And I don't think that the word author is really enough to actually describe what an AI author is currently able to do, and certainly what an AI author will be able to do in the future. To show you what I mean, let me briefly talk about where I see this industry going, perhaps as early as the next couple of years, certainly by the next 5 to 10 years. This is what I'm seeing. We're currently having a lot of advancements with AI text and AI art currently, and those are really the two industries that are blowing up in the creative field. However, we're starting to see the beginnings of the same revolution happening in other creative fields like video games, 3D models, text to video generators, much in the same way that we have text to image generators, and a whole slew of others, audio, music, basically any creative field that you can think of. And this is why people are scared, because there really isn't an artistic field that is safe here. And a lot of these fields are not quite as developed as the AI text or AI image fields are right now, but they are where AI text and image fields were a year ago. And so we already have seen the amount of advancement that we've seen with text and images. We're going to see that happen with video and with video games and whatever you can think of. What this means is that it's going to be significantly easier in the near future to have or create a video game knowing nothing about code, or to create a movie based on whatever you want to base it on. The costs are going to come down significantly compared to where they were before. And it's interesting because there's this writer's strike going on in Hollywood right now, which, by the way, I fully support. Hollywood is a supremely corrupt system. But it's funny that the writers are a little bit worried about how the Hollywood studios are going to use AI, and they don't want to get cut out because of that. But I actually think, and this is really what I do think, I think the Hollywood studios are actually the ones in trouble. When we saw the self-publishing revolution in the early 2010s, where Amazon released the Kindle and made it possible for anybody to self-publish, we saw this happen with the traditional publishing space. Since then, they've been consolidating publishers and really trying to hang on for dear life to their old business models, which simply do not work anymore. And I think as AI makes video and gaming more accessible, these huge, enormous studios that create content are suddenly going to become the traditional publishers of the next decade, right? They're going to be new people coming in and creating much cheaper, much more accessible content. And they're going to be smaller studios popping up that don't need these big studios because they're able to do a lot of it themselves using AI. And for those of us that are keeping tabs on AI, like pretty much all of you watching, we're going to be able to take advantage of these opportunities. So you can see why just saying author doesn't quite sound like enough of a word. We could just say storyteller, where we're kind of lifting ourselves above one writing medium, where we all we're doing is writing books because that's the cheapest form of entertainment that we can actually do with our time. But once we have access to movies or games or audio dramas or whatever we want to do with with far less effort than it was before, then what could we do with that? So here's what I actually see happening in the near future. I think we're going to start to see the rise of independent publishers, hopefully like myself, who, they do publish books. That's like a big part of their revenue stream. But then maybe you've got a little bit of a publishing house that is a multimedia publishing house. So yes, you'll probably publish books, maybe publish a lot of books, publish other people's books. But then maybe you have a theatrical film guy or an animated television guy or a video game guy whose job it is, their only job is to just create video games or movies or animated movies or what have you. And you just have this with a single person who's able to manage all that. And so you have this small company of a couple of employees that's able to do a lot of cool stuff. I think that's legitimately going to be possible within 5 to 10 years. So once again, you can kind of see why I think the term author is simplistic. We're really not going to be building single stories. We're going to be building these story empires. And that's what I like to think of my own work. I like to think of it as a storytelling empire that books are just a small part of. So if not authors, what do we call ourselves in this kind of a situation? Well, personally, I like the term story emperor. I think that has a nice ring to it. But I would love to hear your thoughts. What would you call this sort of magnanimous position? I think there are a number of things we could do. I think the closest that we have to it in terms of a real world title would be something like Chief Creative Officer, someone like Kevin Feige over at Marvel, the person who's really in charge of doing all the creative things and sailing the ship in whatever direction the company goes. I think that is going to be what a lot of the more entrepreneurial authors are going to be looking at. So we could do something like Chief Creative Officer. We could also just say creative director. I think those are titles that are more descriptive, but I have a bias towards story emperor. Now, just a side note, all of this that I've been talking about is another reason why I feel like selling books directly to readers and building up your own personal brand and making sure you are the face of that brand is going to be even more important in the age of AI, because we have all of this synthesized media. It's going to be super important to have your face in front of a camera or in front, talking to people directly, because that is going to be a huge part of marketing efforts going forward, in my opinion. So I want you to think of yourselves more in these kind of terms. Think of yourselves not as authors, but as story emperors or empresses, building this storytelling empire. And it's going to be huge and it's going to be awesome what we are going to be able to create. And I can't wait to rub shoulders with some of you. And that leads me to a big announcement. So I have created a Discord server. So any of you out there who've been wanting to rub shoulders with me a little bit more directly, you can now do so. And honestly, on this channel, I get a lot of people coming to me and sharing different prompts that they've tried and found success with. And I simply don't have the time or the resources to make videos about every single interesting prompt that comes my way. And so I thought having a good community like this will be a great way for those people to share those prompts and for you to share your prompts in a way that helps other people out and build each other up as this community grows. We're over 5,000 subscribers right now, and it's just incredible what we are seeing here in this space of AI. Right now, I've called my Discord the Nerdy Novelists, plural, because I think that is a good place to start in terms of our identification, and not as authors, but as nerdy novelists. And then I think maybe we could have some kind of tiered system where we work our way up to story emperor or whatever we decide is a good term, and have like steps leading up to that. I'm still working all of that out. I would love to hear your thoughts. You can find the link for the Discord server down below, and I look forward to seeing you there.